slow, grave, almost a whisper. On a warm Sunday night in August 1989, two brothers made a phone call that would end one chapter of their lives and begin another that would consume the next 3 decades. Their parents were dead, shot multiple times in the living room of their Beverly Hills mansion. And the brothers who made that call, Lyle, 21 years old, and Erik, just 18, were the ones who pulled the trigger. What followed was one of the most disturbing, divisive, and emotionally shattering trials in American legal history, a case that still isn't over. The night of the murders. It's August 20th, 1989. José and Mary Louise Kitty Menendez are in the den of their home at 722 North Elm Drive in Beverly Hills, one of the most exclusive addresses in the country. José is shot 6 times, the fatal blow a single shotgun blast to the back of the head. Kitty is shot 10 times in total. The weapon, a Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun. When police arrive, they find Lyle and Erik outside the house, screaming, crying, barely coherent. Erik ran from the front door to a tree in the driveway and began slamming his head against it. Officers had to physically restrain him. The brothers told police they had been at a movie theater that night, watching Batman. Police didn't test for gunshot residue. They didn't suspect the 2 grieving sons. Not yet. The Menendez family. To understand what happened that night, you have to understand who the Menendez family was and what went on behind the walls of that mansion. José Enrique Menendez was born in Havana, Cuba in 1944. He came to the United States at 16 in the wake of the Cuban Revolution and rebuilt himself entirely through ambition. He earned an accounting degree, married Kitty Anderson in 1963, built a career in entertainment, and eventually became a powerful executive, ultimately joining the company that would become Live Entertainment. By the time of his death, he was worth an estimated $14 million. But inside that household, money and success came with a price. José was described as a hard-driving, perfectionistic, controlling father. He pushed his sons relentlessly, in academics, in tennis, in everything. Lyle and Erik attended elite schools, trained with professional coaches, and lived a life most people can only imagine. And yet, what allegedly happened to them in that house is something no amount of wealth can justify. After the murders, spending and suspicion. In the months following the killings, Lyle and Erik Menendez did something that would eventually draw the police's attention. They spent lavishly: a $62,000 Porsche, a restaurant, a full-time tennis coach, bodyguards, trips to the Caribbean, London, Israel, luxury condominiums in Marina del Rey. Together, in just a few months, the brothers burned through approximately $700,000 of their parents' estate. Lyle said it was grief, that his mother would have wanted him to buy that restaurant, that spending was his way of coping. Maybe, but it wasn't the spending that undid them. The confession, Dr. Oziel, and the tape. After the murders, Erik returned to therapy with his former psychologist, Dr. Jerome Oziel. Lyle began joining the sessions too. And then, in one of those sessions, Erik sat down, leaned against a parking meter outside Dr. Oziel's office building, and said 3 words that changed everything. Slow, deliberate. We did it. Oziel recorded subsequent sessions. Those tapes contained the brothers' confession, including their reasons for the killing, their mother's hidden suicide note, and the fear they claimed drove them to act. Shift. Introduce the betrayal. But for months, that information stayed inside Oziel's office until his extramarital girlfriend, Judalon Smith, went to the police. She told them about the tapes. She told Oziel had used the brother's secret to manipulate and control her, threatening that Lyle and Erik would kill her if she talked. Somber. On March 8, 1990, Lyle Menendez was arrested outside the Beverly Hills mansion where his parents were killed. 2 days later, Erik surrendered at LAX, returning from a tennis tournament in Israel. The first trial, a nation divided. On July 20, 1993, nearly 4 years after the murders, the trial of Lyle and Erik Menendez began. Slightly wry, it had everything: a $14 million estate, 2 handsome young defendants, a grotesque crime, and, for the first time in American television history, it was broadcast live on the newly launched Court TV network. Sincere, grave, the country couldn't look away. Shift, somber and careful. The brothers' defense rested on a single devastating claim: that their father, José Menendez, had sexually abused them for years, and that when they confronted him, when they feared he would silence them forever, they acted out of terror, not greed. Testimony, abuse claims. When Erik took the stand, he described in explicit, heartbreaking detail years of sexual abuse by his father, beginning when he was a child. He described threats, objects, a knife, pins and tacks used during abuse. Quieter. He described telling Lyle. He said he just wanted it to stop. Shift to Lyle's testimony. Lyle testified that the abuse of him had begun between the ages of 6 and 8. He described the manipulation, the silence, the way his mother dismissed it when he told her, and he admitted something that shook the courtroom: that he had, at times, repeated the abuse towards his younger brother, Erik. Pause, let silence breathe. The other piece of evidence, photographs taken by José, images of his sons as young children that the prosecution argued were innocuous, but the defense said were evidence of a deeply disturbed dynamic. Building toward the decision. The brothers said that when Erik finally told Lyle what was still happening in 1989, Lyle confronted his father. And after that confrontation, the brothers believed José would kill them to protect his secret. So they bought guns, and on August 20th, they walked into the den at 722 North Elm Drive in Beverly Hills. The verdicts. After 16 days of deliberation, Erik's jury announced it was deadlocked. After 24 days, Lyle's jury was deadlocked too. Judge Weisberg declared mistrials in both cases. Dry, somber. The nation was divided. Half believed the brothers were cold-blooded killers who invented an abuse story to escape prison. The other half believed they were survivors of unimaginable trauma who had reached a breaking point. Shift, second trial. The second trial began in August 1995. This time, no cameras, and critically, the judge limited the brothers' ability to introduce testimony about the sexual abuse. The jury was not permitted to consider manslaughter charges. This time, Lyle didn't take the stand. Heavy, inevitable. On March 20th, 1996, after 4 days of deliberation, both brothers were found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Pause. 3 weeks later, life in prison without the possibility of parole. New evidence. The fight continues. For 22 years, the brothers served their sentences thousands of miles apart, communicating only through letters. In 2018, Lyle was transferred. In April of that year, the brothers were finally placed in the same unit at Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego County. They hadn't seen each other in person since 1999. They cried and embraced when they did. But the story didn't end at sentencing. In 2023, their attorney filed a habeas petition citing two extraordinary pieces of new evidence. The first, a letter allegedly written by Erik in December 1988, 8 months before the murders, to his cousin, Andy Cano. In it, a teenage Erik describes his father coming into his room, the fear, the helplessness, the abuse still happening. Quote, "I've been trying to avoid Dad. It's still happening, Andy, but it's worse for me now." That letter was never presented as evidence in either trial. The second piece of evidence, measured, a sworn affidavit from